Kyrie, I see your message. Yep, so you're all good. But before I jump into the lesson for the day, I have a few things to say. So I'm about to send a message to the chat, just with some reminders that I think are going to be helpful for a number of you, especially for at least the one person who I see who's new to the class. Sean, my name is Mr. Rudd, by the way, R-U-D-D. Nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here with us. So far, we've had a strong, first 7 days of class. Today is the 8th day of the school year, and I've definitely enjoyed teaching this group so far. I'm definitely hoping to get even more engagement, so hopefully you can jump in and be a part of that. But I wanted to send some reminders to the chat, as you can see, of some things that I think will be applicable to a good number of you. A lot of you still have not joined our Remind chat. So please make sure that you do that. And that's just going to be a way for me to get in contact with you all if I need to and send out some important notifications and reminders as the semester goes on. I promise I will not blow up your phone. It will be maybe 1 or 2 messages a week. Last week, I didn't even send any messages. I haven't sent one yet this week. So don't be fearful that I'm going to be overloading you with messages. Number 2, please make sure that you have had your parents or guardian or whoever that adult who is going to hold you accountable and support you through this semester. Please make sure that you've had them fill out the Student Champion contact form, which can be found at the bottom of our Unit 0. So there's a section of our Unit 0 module that says Unit 0 resources. You can find the Student Champion contact form there. And that's just going to help me be able to work with you and your family or whoever it is who's filling this out for you to achieve your personal and academic goals, okay? So I need to have their contact information, not for punitive reasons. I'm not trying to punish you or, tell on you or anything like that, but I just want to be able to make sure I can reach out to them and say, hey, I have this opportunity for your student. Please make sure that they take advantage of it. Number 3, please make sure that you have created and shared your Google folder with me. I'm still getting some submissions of individual assignments. Once you've created your Google Drive, your Google folder with me, and once you've shared it with me, all you'll have to do is place your assignments in that folder, and that will automatically grant me access to the assignment. So you won't actually have to share every single assignment with me. And this is just going to help us all remain more organized. This year I have about 55 biology students. And so that's a pretty small group, but it's still a lot to keep up with if everybody is sending me their assignments individually. So please make sure that you have your folder and you can share things that way. And then additionally, before we jump into the actual lesson, I do want to acknowledge that, it's a tough time in our society right now. And I want to reaffirm to you all that I'm here to support you in whatever way you need to be supported. And so if you just need someone to talk to, or if you just need someone to listen, if you might want some advice, or you just want to think through some of the thoughts that are in your head, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I'd be happy to be that person for you. Many of you may be aware that another unarmed person was shot by the police this past Sunday. Fortunately, that person so far has survived. There have been a number of reports that his health is stable, but I'm seeing now that he may be paralyzed. So there's a lot that's going on. And in that community, some people are peacefully protesting, and some people are expressing their emotions in more maybe unruly ways. And so however you feel, opinions on this subject range, and that's okay. We don't always have to agree with each other, but we do have to be supportive and respectful of one another. And so I want you all to see me not as someone who's going to be an authority figure. I don't have all the answers. I'm still young, just like you all. I'm still seeing the world and trying to make sense of it all. And it is tragic. It is sad. And so as you all are processing through these things, please just give me an opportunity to support you in whatever way you need. All right, so that's all I wanted to say on that. And now we can jump into the biology. So can I have someone volunteer, please, and read the objectives and the essential question for the day? I wish I saw some cameras on, but looks like everybody's being shy today. Can someone please go ahead and volunteer?
Biologists will be able to describe the structure and function of, how do you say it, nucleic?
Yeah, nucleic, good.
Nucleic acids by comparing both types.
And can you go ahead and actually just read the essential question for us as well?
What is the role of I'm not saying that acids in all living organisms?
Thank you, Kyrie. So yeah, today we're talking about our third type of biological macromolecules, and we're also going to introduce proteins today as well. So nucleic acids and proteins. That's the title of today's lesson. At this point, you should have your notebook out, but I'll pause and give you all 15 seconds to take your notebooks out. Or however you choose to take notes. Okay. So hopefully you were present for yesterday's discussion, and hopefully you had an opportunity to take notes yesterday. And so this would be a good time to refer back to those notes. What we're going to do is break down this chart. And this chart, if I can tell you anything that's going to be useful to you in this unit, this is the table that you want to have. And so once I move these boxes out of the way and after we discuss a little bit, I would encourage you to take a screenshot, take a picture, or you can, if you're choosing to write, which I think is the old-fashioned and probably most effective way of doing things, you can copy this table for yourself and write in the information. But this is what is going to be most important. And if you can really understand this table, if you can memorize this table, then you are going to be in a great position to do well in this first unit, okay? So people who were a part of the call yesterday, can someone please tell me what the monomer for a carbohydrate is? What's the monomer of a carbohydrate?
Was it like the fatty acid?
Okay, that's the monomer for a lipid, so keep that answer in mind. That's going to be box number 5. But in box number 1, we're looking for something else. Does anyone know?
Glucose.
Glucose, excellent. I don't know who said that. Joseph, it looks like, but that's correct. Glucose is our monomer for carbohydrates. Okay, so again, I'm going to go slow with this chart, with this table, because I really want you all to get a good look at it, write it down. Okay, this is the chart that you're going to need to have in order to do well this first unit. Okay. What are the elements that make up carbohydrates? Can someone please remind me? No one remembers? There are 3 elements that make up carbohydrates. They're the same 3 that are present in all of these biological compounds. Okay.
Is
Guys,
it
I can't.
carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen?
Kyrie, can you say that one more time?
Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And guys, I really cannot underestimate the importance of engagement, because in a typical environment, I can see on your faces that you're confused, or that I'm going too fast, or that you need to hear something a second or third or fourth time. But like this, I literally can't even see your faces, right? I can't read body language, so I need you all to speak up. And if you're confused about something, or if you missed something, you've got to communicate that to me so that we can make sure that you get that information. Again, the goal is learning. The goal is not just to get a good grade. The goal is for you all to really understand these concepts. So thank you, Kyrie. You are putting the team on your back today, but that is correct. And as we uncover box number 6, there's going to be a pretty important addition to this second box. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes. What's the function of carbohydrates? What do they provide to living organisms? What do carbohydrates do for us, people? And I appreciate Kyrie and Joseph for having their cameras on. Hopefully,
Is it they give us energy?
They do. They give us quick energy. Excellent. They also give structure to our cell, not our cells, but to the cells of plants. Okay, so in most animals, our bodies have bones. They have a skeleton. And even in insects have what's called an exoskeleton. But that provides our bodies with some amount of structure. Plants do not have skeletons. So they need to have these carbohydrates in their cells to allow them to stand up and to weather some of the rain and wind that would otherwise pull them down. Okay, and then what are some examples of carbohydrates, if you remember it from yesterday?
Glucose.
Glucose is the monomer, yeah, but we can consider that an example. Anything else that we remember?
It's starch.
Starch is a good one. Yeah. Oops. Okay. So we've got glycogen, sucrose, fructose, and starch. These are common examples of carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are your sugars. And I underlined the letters OSE for a reason. As you can see, the letters OSE appear in 3 different words here: glucose, sucrose, and fructose. Okay, so when you see OSE, you should already be thinking carbohydrate. You should already be thinking sugar. Okay, good. And I think it was also Kyrie who continues to shine today. He told us that the lipids have the monomer glycerol and 3 fatty acids, 3 fatty acid tails. So people, again, I hope to see more of you writing down this chart. This is very important. Taking a screenshot, doing whatever you need to do in order to get this information and remember this information. Okay, what about the elements for a lipid? What elements make up a lipid?
I know we got carbon.
Carbon, what else? Ooh, we are quiet today. All right. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, same exact elements, same exact elements. The difference, though, and it's an important difference, carbohydrates have those 3 elements in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, meaning if I have 1 carbon atom, then I have 2 hydrogen atoms, and I have 1 oxygen atom. Lipids do not have that ratio, okay? So you could end up having 1 carbon atom, 3 hydrogen atoms, and 2 oxygen atoms for a lipid. They don't have that ratio. So that's an important difference. What do lipids do? What is their function?
long-term energy, insulation, and cell membranes.
Excellent. Yeah, exactly right. So similarity between carbohydrates and lipids is that they both provide energy to the cell, but carbohydrates provide quick energy, energy that's used within 24 hours. Lipids provide long-term energy, so energy that is stored, energy that can be used over a much longer period of time. Lipids also make up what's called the cell membrane, and I'm not going to go into detail on that because that's going to be a big concept in our second unit. But the cellular membrane is the outermost layer of the cell. And then we also heard that lipids provide insulation, which is not typed here, but it might be something that you consider writing down. That is important. Insulation. All right, and then what are some common examples of lipids? Do we remember?
Fats, water, steroids, and phosphor. Oh no, I said that. Phospholipids. How you say it?
Yeah, good. Fats, steroids, waxes, oils would also be an example, and then that word is phospholipids. Phospholipids. So phospholipids are what are actually in that cell membrane, but we'll talk more about that, like I said, in our next unit. So this is the table, people. This is unit 1. Today, we're going to be able to fill out those next 2 rows. But if you can remember this table, and if you can start to identify some similarities and some differences between the 4 biological compounds, you will be in an excellent position to do well in this unit. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to take a screenshot, take a picture, finish writing this down, type it up, whatever you need to do. This is very, very important. Okay. So what I want to do now is going to be different for us, but it's going to allow us an opportunity to be a bit more engaged, especially because you all are being very quiet today. So I want to go to sending the information to the chat. You guys are going to go to that link, join.nearpod.com, and enter this code, YDPTC. I've got 18 students on the call. I should have 18 people, 18 different names show up in this Nearpod presentation. So let's get that done in the next 60 seconds. I'll repeat it one more time. You're going to go to join.nearpod.com and enter the code YDPTC.
We looked that up in the computer on our phones.
You could do either one.
It's slow right now.
But I'll stop presenting my screen because the slides are going to come up for you all.
You said we gotta wait for you to start it.
Right. Let's see. I've only got 6 people so far. I should have 3 times that many. So please hurry up, people. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Ashley, DJ, Gilbert, Kyrie, Nick, DeMarco.
Midnight. Cause every time I click join listen, my screen is stuck on a loading screen.
It already has you in it. Yeah, your name is in here. I'm waiting on, should have 4 more people.
You said go on what?
What did you say?
You said to go on what?
I sent the link to the chat, but it's join.nearpod.com.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, it's saying it can't even connect me to the server. It's tripping. It
Well, let's
says
see if
cannot connect you to your server.
when I start the presentation, maybe it'll work for you because it does have your name in here. Oh, now it's red.
Alright.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start it. So this is going to be a 3-minute quiz. It's not going in the grade book, but it gives you an opportunity to answer some questions. So 9 questions. Your goal is to identify, is it carbohydrate, is it a lipid, or is it both? If you took notes on the last slide, you should be good.
You just started it?
Yes. It's not working?
Wait, what'd you just say?
Said it
I said
isn't
it's
working,
YouTube.
DeMarco.
Yeah.
No. It's still loading.
Okay. About halfway.
Is this a grade?
No, sir. This is just to help me understand what we know and don't know.
Hey, Mr. Red, what are we doing? I just joined.
Go to join.nearpod.com, please.
Okay.
And then enter the code YDPTC.
Wait, so what you want me to do? Cause mine not working.
I can share my screen. That way you'll still be able to see it even if you didn't join.
Alright. Carrie, you ugly.
Dude, you is weird. Just another dude.
Okay, that's it. That's time. So some of you didn't get to finish it.
I didn't get to finish.
Yeah, it was just 3 minutes. That's okay though. It's not going in the grade book. It's just to help me understand what we know and don't know. Looks like there is still quite a bit of confusion. Kyrie was doing well. He hadn't gotten any wrong. Chelsea did pretty well, 7 out of 9. Unique did well, 8 out of 9. Joseph did well. So I'm not going to go over this right now because hopefully you all took notes on that last slide and all of the answers were there in that table. So what I'll do after this lesson, I will take a screenshot of that table and I will upload it to our Canvas course because I really, really need you all to study that. That's what you need to know. And I'll also put it in Spanish as well. But yeah, that's the big takeaway from this unit. So if you can memorize that table, you'll be okay. Next, I want us to think about, as we start to transition into talking about our nucleic acids, I want us to think about what makes us all unique. So take 60 seconds to just think about that. We can think about racial diversity, ethnic diversity, personality diversity, diversity of opinion, all of these things. But I want you all to think about it from a biological perspective, but also from a social or historical or sociological, whatever you think. Take 60 seconds and then we'll take some time to share out.
But then I can't get on it. So I'm supposed to be looking at your screen, right?
DeMarco, you ugly.
Like my camera not even on, weird ass nigga. I'm sure you see your dumb ass.
Okay. So on the next slide, you all have the opportunity to type comments and then it'll display so that everybody else can see what you're typing and what your comment is. So again, we're answering the question, what makes us all unique? So go ahead and share your thoughts. You also have the option to share some images as well.
Mr. Red, my stuff keep acting slow.
It's doing what?
It's still acting slow on the website.
I'm not sure if there's anything that I can do, but just be patient.
All right.
I know we're going to have to continue to deal with these tech issues. Thank you, Aaron. We all have our own differences, okay? We all have our own way of thinking, Kyrie says, and you all can go in and like other people's messages as well. All have our own mind, okay? So that's similar to what Kyrie was saying. Okay, skin tone is one of the things that makes us different, or how you choose to carry yourself, present yourself. Hopefully we should have more than 4 responses, people. There's 16 of you on this presentation. Nevaeh says we all have our own how we act. Okay, so let's see if we can start to think about some of the biological reasons why we're different. Ashley kind of provided a segue into thinking about that. She says our features or the way we look. That's true. What else? What else would be a biological reason we're different? Sean says DNA. That's 100% correct. And we're going to talk about DNA in just a couple short minutes. Let's get some more responses, please. Okay, Chelsea says genes. That's true, and not denim genes, but the genes that are inside of our cells and that we get from our parents. Kyrie says we have freedom of choice. We can make our own choices. All right. And Jada says DNA as well. So I like the DNA responses. I'm gonna go ahead and like those. But all of your responses are good because we know that DNA is extremely important, but it's not the only thing that makes us different. We have all these other things that contribute to us being different as well, like our circumstances, the way we were raised, the education we received, the people we spend time around. So all of those things contribute to who we are. And then we can also think about things that contribute to how we look. So even though I may have been born with melanin in my skin that makes me brown, if I spend more time outside than I do inside, then I can start to tan. But if I choose to spend more time inside, then my skin is a little bit lighter. It's a fairer color. Okay, so even though DNA contributes to my skin color and the way that I look, my environment can still contribute to that as well. So we've got this interaction, this interplay between your genes and what you were born with, and the environment and how you were raised and the people you spend time around. And neither one of them is, in any one situation, going to be more influential than others. Some women have specific genes that make it more likely that they get breast cancer, but that doesn't guarantee that the woman will get breast cancer. It just makes it more likely. And then there are a lot of women who don't have that gene who still get breast cancer. So we have this constant interplay of between DNA and the environment. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to end this presentation and share my other screen again. But I want to start doing more of those because it just allows you all to be a bit more interactive. And they have some pretty cool features like some 3D tours of the cell that we'll be able to take. This slide. All right. So back to your notes. Please, please, please make sure you're taking notes. If you absolutely refuse to take notes, you might struggle, but I am still going to upload this recording to our Canvas course later. So the third type of organic compound that we will discuss is nucleic acid. We have two types of nucleic acids, and you can see them down here at the bottom, RNA and DNA. And Sean told us a little bit about DNA. Ashley came in and said something about genes, which is related to DNA, but we have those two types. Now, think about the table that I keep talking about. One of the columns of that table is function. Here's the function for nucleic acids. They contain the genetic information which controls the production of proteins and all other cellular activities. Okay, so these nucleic acids are essential to making proteins. I'll give you all some time to write that down. Okay. Now, as we look ahead a little bit, I'm not going to go into detail too much here, but I would encourage you to write down this brief sentence. It says DNA provides the instructions to make proteins. DNA provides the instructions to make proteins. Really, we can think about the relationship between DNA and proteins almost as we think about the relationship between a recipe book and the meal. Okay, so DNA would be the recipe book. The proteins are the meal. Keep that in mind as we go through this lesson, but also keep that in mind really for the entire duration of this course. All right, so here's that same image we had a couple of slides ago, but it's just bigger. And you can see the two types of nucleic acids down there at the bottom. We've got RNA, which stands for ribonucleic acid. And we have DNA, which stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. Big words, people, that we have not seen before. And pronouncing them is going to take some practice. But we see that we have the Na, which stands for nucleic acid. The other part stands for, or the other part represents a sugar, which we'll talk more about. Both DNA and RNA are essential to life, and all living organisms have DNA and RNA. But there are some clear differences between the two. The first difference that you should notice is that RNA has uracil and DNA has thymine. So as you can see, they both have C, they both have cytosine, they both have G, which is guanine, and they both have A, which is adenine. But DNA has T and RNA has U. So that's important. Another important difference that you should be able to notice just by looking at the picture, RNA is single-stranded and DNA is double-stranded. So you can see RNA just has that one ribbon that just spirals down. And so we call it a single helix. And DNA has two ribbons that spiral around each other. And so that's why we call it a double helix. Any questions about this so far? Okay. Oops. So yeah, the similarity that they have is that they're both essential to all living things. We need DNA and RNA to function. So there are some differences, but there are also some similarities. So again, thinking about that table, we had 4 columns. One of them was monomer, and one of them was the elements that make up that organic compound. So in this case, the monomer for nucleic acids is called a nucleotide. Nucleotide. And a nucleotide is a 5-carbon sugar, which is typically represented by a hexagon, a phosphate group, which really looks like an antenna that is connected to the hexagon, which looks like a house, and a nitrogen base, which is those A, T, G, C's, and U's. Keep in mind, DNA has T, RNA has U. Okay. And then the atoms, of course, we always have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, but nucleic acids also have nitrogen and phosphate. Well, phosphorus. I should say phosphorus. Okay. So keep in mind that we do have the differences and the similarities. Some of you might be learners who like to see visual images and diagrams. So this is a Venn diagram that is helpful in order to see what's different about DNA and RNA and what's similar about them. All right, just a few more slides, Proteins. This is the last organic compound. So from the next few slides, you should have basically everything you'll need to know to be successful in this unit. But proteins, they have the monomer amino acids. And these amino acids are connected by peptide bonds. So sometimes you'll hear proteins referred to as polypeptides because poly means many and many peptide bonds make up a protein. So we have polypeptides. And then the elements, the atoms that make up a protein are, of course, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. We always have those three, but then also nitrogen. Proteins have a lot of different functions, and we're going to talk about some of the functions on the next slide. But it's important to note that the shape of the protein matters. Okay, so if I change the shape, then the function changes. Shape and function are very, very closely related. Please do make sure that last column can be filled out. So write down those common examples. We've got enzymes, hormones, hemoglobin, insulin, and antibodies. These are all examples of organic compounds.
Don't change it yet.
Okay, are you good to go now? Whoever that was.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Jaden. All right, and just to explain some of the functions of proteins. Enzymes are responsible for speeding up chemical reactions. So many of the chemical reactions that take place in our bodies, as well as in other organisms, would take place very slowly if it weren't for enzymes. We're going to talk more about that on Friday, I believe, but they speed up the chemical reactions. Hormones are the primary ways that our cells communicate. So hormones are like the text messages that cells send to one another to say, hey, you need to do this, or hey, be aware of this. You might want to be careful going forward with this, or it's time to do this. Hormones are like I said, the text messages that cells send to one another. Hemoglobin is what allows our blood to carry oxygen. So of course, that's one of the primary functions of blood. Blood needs to be able to get oxygen all the way from our heart, through our lungs, to our fingertips, to the tips of our toes, and to our brain. Okay, if your brain goes even a few minutes without oxygen, it can be very, very, the damage can be permanent. Insulin is what allows our bodies to maintain and to regulate, to use a Sternger word, to regulate the blood sugar. So people who do not naturally make their own insulin, or people whose production of insulin has decreased because of an overconsumption of sugar, have what's called diabetes. And so they need to have insulin treatments. They need to take insulin because their body no longer produces it by itself, or never produced it by itself. And then lastly, antibodies. These protect organisms from pathogens. So viruses, bacteria, poisons, anything that causes a disease. Our body's first line of defense are the antibodies that we have built up over the years. Okay. All right, so we've got about 18 minutes left in class. I'm not going to do the Kahoot. There are 2 assignments. I would start with this one called macromolecule matching, because it's very short. It's just 5 questions. Then do the protein research assignment. All of this is in module under Unit 1, Day 3. And we will have a quiz tomorrow. So please, please, please make sure that you are studying that table for the quiz. Okay, so those are the 2 assignments, the macromolecule matching and protein research. That's what you should be working on. I'll be here if you have questions, but I am going to mute myself. Okay, people, it is now 1:20, so you all are good to go and start preparing for your fourth block class. I am going to upgrade the grade book today, so you should have a better understanding of what you have done and what you have not yet done. And I will talk to you all tomorrow.
What time fourth block start?
1:30.
All right.
1:30.
DeMarco, you ugly. Shut up.
All right, son.
DeMarco, guess what I just
My
ate?
son.
Kyrie, and DeMarco ugly.
Who was that? Oh, that's Jay. That's Fishy. What up, Fish?
Y'all sister
What's up, Black Attack?
Your sister love.
That's what I just had. I just had me some glizzies, some Doritos, and I got a Gatorade.
Bro, you was fat, bro. All right.
You just mad because you can't eat nothing but